Today we're talking to Lainey Morris from Pennypaws Rescue. So first, Lainey, can you tell me just a little bit about what Pennypaws Rescue is?
So Pennypaws Rescue, Neil, is a UK registered charity. So we're registered with the Charity Commission.
Yeah.
And we are involved in rescuing and rehoming stray and abandoned dogs in Romania. But alongside that, we've also moved further into the area of education and sterilisation of dogs in a particular part of Romania called Snagov.
Ah, interesting. Can you tell me what is your role within this organisation?
Absolutely. So my role is to try and secure funds for the charity. It's worth saying that every person that works for Pennypaws does so on a completely voluntary basis.
All
There are
volunteers?
correct. There's no paid employees. We're all just incredibly passionate animal lovers, and we have to work the voluntary role alongside often quite demanding other paid roles. So every penny that comes in to Pennypaws from donations and sponsors does go towards the costs of our core costs of running the charity.
Okay. You mentioned this event in Snagov.
Yes.
Could you particularly tell me a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So there's a shelter run by a fantastic woman called Adriana Luisa in Snagov, Romania, and she has a private shelter where we sponsor and pay for a number of dogs to be cared for by her that are awaiting behavioural assessment and then rehoming in the UK. And Adriana has done a fantastic job recently of identifying a local vet who, I'm delighted to say, Neil, on the 22nd of July, was able to spay or neuter 37 dogs. I think there was the odd cat in there as well. I saw some tails that looked a bit bushier and a bit suspect.
Right.
So I think there might have been the odd cat snuck in. But that was a fantastic thing for us. And in order to finance it, Pennypaws raised, I think we raised €1,000 through a GoFund appeal and in offline donations in about 2 weeks. People really got behind it when we explained that we've got to do more around the preventative work. It's reducing overpopulation. Yeah.
Well, in that case, can you tell me a little bit about the benefit of spaying to the actual dogs themselves and also to the issue of stray dogs?
Of course I can. Just before I answer that point though, I do just want to make mention of a fantastic German association
shout out.
Called 2GETHER4STRAYS, founded by a wonderful woman called Carmen and her colleague Tabitha. They're vastly more experienced than us actually in terms of sterilisation campaigns. They've organised a mass event in the past and they've been working with Adriana's shelter now for 11 years. So it's been wonderful to connect with Carmen and Tabitha recently.
Is it a partner?
Yeah, they're going to be working partners with us around this particular campaign going forward. We're so delighted because they have the experience and some advantages around that in terms of how to orchestrate it. They've done several trips, I understand, driving from Germany to Romania with items and things that they need for the dogs that they care for. And going forward, we'll be working with Carmen and Tabitha from 2GETHER4STRAYS to put together an even larger spaying campaign next May. But to answer your points about how it improves the quality of life for the dogs,
yes.
Obviously, look, we're aware, and some of the public may or may not be aware, that Romania has had a huge issue with unwanted stray dogs.
Are aware of that now.
It's historical. It goes back a number of years and decades to different forms of government rule. We won't go into all the history of it now. But it's a complex issue. It's a very complex issue, actually, in terms of getting people on board in Romania itself to support charities. It's quite difficult in some ways. But also what I've learned, Neil, it isn't just Romania. There is a worldwide global problem with stray and unwanted dogs that experience all sorts of health and welfare issues when they're not properly cared for. So, look, we're a small charity, we're not expecting to change the world. And there are a lot of much larger organisations than ours at the forefront of these types of campaign, doing incredible work across Romania. But what we want to do is effect change in one small area, which is Snagov. And for the dogs that are being treated, particularly the female dogs, we're obviously working towards improving their health, because if you're a female dog that's constantly
in that cycle,
then the risk actually to the health of that mother is constantly being
improves
jeopardised.
improves their quality of life.
Absolutely.
Right.
So there's that side of it. And then secondly, obviously the key thing is reducing those populations of dogs. I know when Gill, my colleague, went out, I think it was in May, there's literally mums with puppies coming in off the field being passed over.
It's quite a bad problem.
Huge. I can't remember the exact statistic, but it's like if 2 dogs breed and aren't sterilised, then their dogs and their offspring over like 5 to 6 years can be
70,000.
of the cause of I don't know if it's 70,000, but it's a huge number.
Yeah.
So, and also there's a huge number of dogs that are being imported into the UK, and we do it, and we want to give those dogs a chance for a forever home. Okay,
in that case, I have another question. Can you tell me how the 2 halves of Pennypaws work? In other words, the rescuing and the spaying and neutering, how do they work together?
Well, obviously, if there's dogs that we can rehabilitate, assess, that have the opportunity for a safe and secure home in the UK, and there is a big movement as well towards trying to encourage that within Romania itself, creating a base of foster carers and adopters within the country.
Right.
We don't want to be swooping in trying to fix another country's problems. We've got to work collaboratively with the country itself. We've all got to work in partnership and take on their expertise too in Romania. But we do import those dogs into the UK that we feel have got the best chance of integration. But there are also a number of other organisations doing that, and that means the numbers of dogs coming in is growing and increasing all the time. And while many of those adoptions are successful, they're not always. And these dogs can be heavily traumatised. They need something a bit different. They're not necessarily a completely straightforward, whatever that means, pet. So although we still very much promote dogs having their forever homes in this country, we do feel very passionately that ultimately you've got to look at longer term solutions, and that has to be the preventative side. So anything we can do to increase the numbers of litters being produced can only be a positive.
So there's a short and a longer term element
yes,
to both halves.
Absolutely.
Okay, well that brings me to my last question, which is clearly from what you said, this is important work that you're doing, but there also appears to be a large compassionate side in this, which is what attracts all the volunteers. Do you feel that that is rewarding for you as well?
Hugely. I mean, everybody that's involved with Pennypaws and probably Rescue generally is hugely passionate about animals.
Are they dog lovers?
We're all dog lovers.
Right. Okay.
And we want to also express that sometimes there can be some criticism of charities that work abroad. People will understandably say, actually, well, what about the shelters in the UK? They're full, they need support. We absolutely agree. Anyone that is doing any work to improve the quality and welfare of dogs and humans alike can only be a positive. And, we fully support our partners in this country as well. But we feel passionately that it doesn't matter the background, the passport, the nation of the dog, that every dog, we see things more globally. Every dog deserves a chance. I haven't yet been to Romania yet, Neil. I'm going next year.
You're going next year?
But I've heard that once you go and you see the plight, it makes me well up just talking about it. If you see the plight of those dogs,
you don't forget.
You can't forget. And I think that's what drives people forward with the work that they're doing in that country.
Well, thank you for that. It's really interesting what you said, and it's been lovely talking to you.
Could I just add one quick thing? And we have got a GoFund appeal,
right.
And we really obviously rely heavily on donations from fantastic sponsors and donors. On average, it costs about €35 to sterilise a dog. Sometimes you can get vets and organisations on board that may offer it for free, which is amazing, and we're looking into those avenues. But generally speaking, it's about €35.
So if people did want to contribute to the spaying campaign, where would they find that information?
Well, I'll be making sure that on the website there's a link to our GoFund appeal, but it's also posted regularly on our Facebook page as well.
Thank you very much. That was great.
Neil, I understand you're a bit passionate too, though, because haven't you got a Pennypaws pup yourself?
I have 2 Pennypaws pups, yes, so I think it's great work that you're doing. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Cheers.